Alright, my voice is kind of back. I was sick for a bit, but this is just a quick video about something that's really important. And here's a little intro from the Australian Parliament.
And welcome to About the House. Western Australia's Juukan Gorge has been home to a sacred site to local Indigenous peoples for over 46,000 years. In May of 2020, the site was destroyed in an explosion designed to expand a nearby iron ore mine. The destruction of this sacred site is the focus of a new inquiry from the Parliament's Northern Australia Committee, chaired by Warren Entsch. Submissions to this inquiry close soon, and if you'd like to make a contribution, you can visit the link below to have your...
Inquiry into the destruction of a 46,000-year-old cave at the Juukan Gorge in the Pilbara region of Western Australia. On Thursday, 11th of June 2020, the Senate referred the following inquiry to the Joint Standing Committee on Northern Australia for inquiry and report by the 30th of September 2020. The destruction of 46,000-year-old caves at the Juukan Gorge in the Pilbara region of Western Australia. The committee invites submissions addressing any or all of the terms of reference for the inquiry. Submissions are required by Friday the 31st of July 2020. Alright, obviously I'll have all the links to get to all of this below, and to help out anyone who wants to write a submission for this inquiry, I'm going to go through the one I wrote. You can also have a look at other submissions on the website. I find that quite useful. Okay, this is mine. To the Joint Standing Committee that's conducting the inquiry into the destruction of the 46,000-year-old caves at the Juukan Gorge in the Pilbara region of Western Australia. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to make a submission with particular reference to A. The operation of the Aboriginal Heritage Act 1972, Western Australia, and approvals provided under the Act. B. The consultation that Rio Tinto engaged in prior to the destruction of the caves with Indigenous peoples. C. The sequence of events and decision-making process undertaken by Rio Tinto that led to the destruction. D. The loss or damage to the traditional owners of the Parutu, Kanti, Karama, and Pinkura people from the destruction of the site. E. The heritage and preservation work that has been conducted at the site. F. The interaction of state Indigenous heritage regulations with Commonwealth laws. G. The effectiveness and adequacy of state and federal laws in relation to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultural heritage in each of the Australian jurisdictions. H. How Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultural heritage law might be improved to guarantee the protection of culturally and historically significant sites. I. Opportunities to improve Indigenous heritage protections through the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act 1999, and J. Any other related matters. Keeping the same order for this submission, on the government website it states the Aboriginal Heritage Act of 1972, AHA, protects all Aboriginal heritage sites in Western Australia whether or not they are registered with the department. Then continues with, consent is required from the Minister for Aboriginal Affairs for any activity which will negatively impact Aboriginal heritage sites. Under the AHA, Aboriginal sites of outstanding importance may be declared protected areas. The AHA also provides protection for Aboriginal objects. This leads me to believe that the 46,000-year-old caves should have been protected by this. On to B. If there was any consultation that Rio Tinto engaged in prior to the destruction of the caves with the Indigenous people, Rio Tinto must have ignored everything because I do not believe they were granted permission to destroy the caves. This leads me to C. I am quite curious to know about the sequence of events and decision-making process undertaken by Rio Tinto that led to the destruction. Rio Tinto must disclose the decision-making process. The next term of reference, D, is best answered by the traditional owners, the Parutu, Kanti, Karuma, and Pinkura people. But I can say this, as a non-Aboriginal Australian from South Australia, the destruction of the site has brought shame to all of Australia. I do not have much to add to E, mainly because I believe I do not know enough to comment. Similarly with F, however, I will say I find it very vague and and I do ask if the interaction of any state regulations and Commonwealth laws are often or ever questioned and analysed. The following term for reference, G, is very interesting. To point out the last part first, in each of the Australian jurisdictions. Firstly, I fail to see the relevance of other Australian jurisdictions when the inquiry is into the destruction of a site in Western Australia. Even A of the terms of reference for this inquiry points us towards the Aboriginal Heritage Act of 1972, Western Australia. Secondly, on this point, and isn't the point of federal law supposed to be law that applies in every jurisdiction? On the first half of G, the effectiveness and adequacy of state and federal laws in relation to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultural heritage. This also must be broken into two parts. Effectiveness is 0. This is why this inquiry is happening in the first place. These laws have not been adequate in the sense of being effective, but I will say the laws are adequate in the sense that they are easy to comprehend. From what I can see, by large, the relevant laws are not effective, but the language used is adequate. This leads me to H. It doesn't seem like many laws need to be improved. It just seems like the current ones actually need to be enforced. The next term of reference, I, is a good one. I had a quick investigation and I believe I spotted some opportunities to improve Indigenous heritage protections through the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act of 1999. Section 324A and onwards of the Environment Protection and Conservation Act goes into detail about places with national heritage protection. If something that was important to people for 46,000 years isn't national heritage, then nothing should be Australian national heritage. Finally, J. The Great Wall is more than 2,300 years old. There is archaeological evidence indicating South American architecture is approximately 3,000 years old. The pyramids of Egypt's Old Kingdom were constructed some 4,500 years ago. Reports say the earliest known cave art by a modern human were found in Indonesia and are believed to be 44,000 years old. Meanwhile, Australia is allowing mining companies to blow up 46,000-year-old sites. What has happened cannot be undone, but we can learn from this and make sure it never happens again. I also think Rio Tinto should pay the traditional owners. Sincerely, me. And just a heads up, if you want to submit it on the website, you have to make a My Parliament account. But I'm pretty sure you can email it in, fax it in, post it in, and links will be below. Thanks for watching. I hope people give it a go and write their own submission to this inquiry or any inquiries. I'll do my best to reply for anyone that wants help or has questions. And remember, take no shit, do no harm, and I should have new videos for you guys on the ASAP. Much love.